The world is conspiring to attack India. A BBC documentary on our Prime Minister. A Hindenburg Research investigation on our Adani group. The world is plain envious about India's growth. Britain is attacking us politically. The US is attacking us financially. Really? Or are we hallucinating? 75 years after independence, are we a nation that cannot accept any criticism? A nation that is easily offended? A nation that cannot visualize self-criticism or laugh at itself? That's a shame. Therefore, the latest national outrage against the BBC or Hindenburg Research is not about the BBC or Hindenburg Research, rather it's about us, a society that is comfortable with praise but deeply upset about critical opinion. 2 years ago, it only took a single tweet of 6 words by actor, singer, entrepreneur Rihanna to send us into a frenzy of anger and hate. She asked about a farmers' protest, why aren't we talking about this? And we thought in 2021, how dare she say this or poke her nose into our internal affairs? We are Vishwa Guru and she can't be teaching us how to deal with our farmers. 2 years later, in 2023, we ask, how dare the BBC talk about us? Our rights are our internal affairs. We'll have the Babri Masjid moment, the Gujarat riots, the Delhi riots. But who's the BBC or anybody else to produce a documentary on it? We have our courts to give the final verdict on everything happening here. That would be like in Afghanistan asking other nations, how dare you talk about our decision to deny education to our girls or jobs to our women? Those are our internal affairs. You don't poke your nose into our internal matters. Wake up. It's the 21st century. Whether we like it or not, no progressive modern society can forbid international scrutiny of the sharpest kind and face deeply uneasy and unsettling questions. So the world will throw uncomfortable questions at every nation about racism in the West, about casteism in India, how China treats the Uyghurs, or the hijab protests in Iran. Like right now, the whole world is focused on the US police murdering yet another black, Ty Nichols. The world media is covering it. The BBC is covering it in detail. But we must accept that the same world media will call our national capital, Delhi, the rape capital of the world. So no one is exempt. And we cannot expect any exemption from media scrutiny, particularly at a time when we hold the G20 presidency. Let's not forget we get our share of bouquets also. Like how the world media appreciates India pulling millions out of poverty since 1947 when the British had left us a financial wreck. And the global appreciation of our democracy, warts and all. Our commendable achievements in space programs and much more. Where we seem to lack is in taking the brickbats. The difference is this. The US will not have an internet shutdown over the Ty Nichols incident. India will shut down the internet at the drop of a hat. We have the fancy slogan of Digital India, but statistics show that India is the global champion of internet shutdowns. In 2020, India accounted for 109 of the 155 internet shutdowns globally. In 2021, we were champions again, shutting down the internet 106 times of the 182 global incidents of internet shutdown. Tech Circle reported, quoting digital rights organization Access Now, in 2021 itself, India blacked out the internet 106 times, followed by Myanmar 15 times and Sudan and Iran 5 times each. Another report says internet shutdowns cost India $2.8 billion. Access Now's Asia Pacific Policy Director Ramanjit Singh Chima said, an internet shutdown is not a solution. It is a disproportionate collective punishment that violates human rights and is unacceptable in a 21st century society. The world's largest democracy can only be preserved and strengthened with a commitment to facilitating access to the internet for all. Free speech, openness, rational thinking, and an equal treatment of citizens are the hallmarks of any progressive democratic society. Consider one news report each from the US and UK last week. In the US, the FBI found classified items in a search at the home of US President Joe Biden in Wilmington, Delaware. Imagine the CBI or the ED searching the home of an Indian Prime Minister. And in the UK, the BBC put out a report that shames the UK Prime Minister. Yes, the BBC is critical of the British Prime Minister, not just the Indian Prime Minister. The report said Rishi Sunak was fined by a police officer for not wearing a seatbelt in his car, sitting in the back seat. Now, don't strain your mind trying to visualize a police officer in India finding the Indian Prime Minister for not wearing a seatbelt. That is too much to ask. Just try and imagine an Indian police officer even fining a local magistrate or his own senior officer, and you know the efficacy of India's democracy. Perhaps one exception within India to the country's general aversion and antipathy towards criticism and media scrutiny is Kerala, where one can still eat chicken, beef or pork, where schools still teach Malayalam, English and Hindi, and where the BBC documentary on Prime Minister Narendra Modi was aired across the state from the Shangamugam beach near Thiruvananthapuram to marketplaces, roadsides and bus stations. And of course, millions of non-resident Keralites would have watched the documentary in their countries where free speech exists. That must be why former Supreme Court Judge Markandeya Kaju remarked on social media 7 years ago, "Thinking rationally, I believe that the real Indians are the Keralites because they have in them the quintessential qualities of Indians. So, to live united and in harmony, we must respect every group of people. In my opinion, the Keralites do this the best, and therefore they are symbolic and represent the whole of India. So, they are the real Indians, and all of us must try to emulate them and imbibe their spirit." India may see itself as Vishwa Guru, but it can take lessons from Kerala on being more mature about handling criticism, laugh at oneself, and even enjoy the joke of cursing politicians day in and day out, and then re-electing the same bunch over and over and over again. Let me leave you with proof that Kerala's politicians are open to the most biting sarcasm, satire and caricaturing. A troll video trending in the state this week shows a captured wild tusker being transported in a truck, accompanied by a large convoy of vehicles travelling at breakneck speed. Millions of Keralites have had a hearty laugh over the video as trollers compared the scary speed of the convoy and the sheer number of vehicles in the Tusker's convoy to that of Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan's intimidating convoy of vehicles wherever he travels. Unlike our national leaders who seem full of self-importance, Kerala's leaders have no worries about some social media ribbing. Watch the two videos. First, the convoy of the captured Palakkad Tusker PT7, and then the convoy of PV Pinarayi Vijayan.